Cybersecurity expert Scott Schober joins us now with more. Welcome back to Arise Xchange, Scott. Thanks for stopping by. I know you've been talking about this all day. Yes. First, what secrets did the Chinese want here? They're not stealing cookie recipes.
No, not by any means. And this is a little bit different than the traditional national security. This is really more of an economic espionage, where they're looking for specific things toward targeted companies, in this case in Pittsburgh, PA there, where they could gain insight into economic advantages. And that's what they're targeting.
The Chinese have for some time now been accused of hacking into U.S. companies and their computers. They continuously deny it. This seems to be a regime with a bit of chutzpah, if you will, because this is a huge program, according to U.S. authorities, backed by the Chinese military.
Yeah, this is really huge, and in fact, they've identified a lot of this communication, where all this is going on, in several buildings throughout Shanghai. There's a lot of emails that in particular were hacked to get content so they could gain economic advantage in this particular case here. But it's been going on for a number of years now, and they've been monitoring it very closely, and they're finally moving in and catching specifics.
Okay, so they've indicted 5 high-level military officials. How significant are these indictments when the fact is they're never going to really prosecute these guys? And there's 5 of how many?
Yeah, you make a good point. Obviously, there's a lot more individuals than just this core 5. This is a large number that's really behind this hacking regime here. But more importantly, it sets a precedent, and that's what the important thing. This is really the first time, so it's kind of groundbreaking that the federal prosecutors are going after these individuals and saying.
But what else can the United States be doing? There's got to be some economic pressure that they could put on China.
Sure, and that's where it's a real tough territory. They don't want to mess up any type of trade agreements or things like that, or cause economic turmoil. And that could be catastrophic to different economies, especially the U.S. economy right here. So they're trying to do this carefully, but yet set a line in the sand, as it were, to say enough is enough. We're not going to put up with it anymore.
Do you believe the Chinese government on the top levels believes it knows what's going on here?
Or absolutely.
There's no question about it?
Absolutely. They know what's going on.
And
clearly.
They sanction it and they say go for it. Yep. What can U.S. companies do to protect themselves?
Yeah, that's a good point. On a smaller scale, obviously, you want to take all the precautions you can. You can't just count on the old traditional virus protection software. That doesn't work anymore these days. But anything that's sensitive, you want to be careful what you put it into, be it an email or other documentations. If it's digital, where does that reside? So you want to make sure that you shred it. Don't keep copies of it laying around. Look at your employees. Make sure that they're trusted employees, that the information doesn't get out of the facility, be it a laptop, a mobile phone, or any of the type of things like that.
Can we draw a straight line from a product that a company here has in the United States to a similar product or similar design or patented technique or something that shows up in China that clearly was stolen?
It happens all the time. In fact, it happened to our company even, in fact. And I was amazed. We saw it about a year later. There was a number of instruments we sold to China. A similar instrument appeared. In fact, one of the typos in one of the software screens, they copied it exactly the same. So it tells us they're not even that clear on copying.
As you mentioned, this one involved economic espionage.
Yes.
However, the New York Times did a story about a year ago that had a pretty extensive national security threat to it, that they're looking for plans for power plants, for et cetera.
Yeah, and that's
what would they do with that information?
Well, that's where it's scary, because you don't know where it ends up. Anything where it's critical infrastructure, you got to be careful. Power plants, or maybe even more nuclear plants. If they have more idea of what's going on there, it gets in the hands of China or even other nations. It could be catastrophic as far as national security. So that's where the U.S. gets very nervous. Department of Defense or Department of Justice, and certainly FBI, they move in quickly, and that's where they want to stop that.
Okay, Scott Schober, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.